Welcome everyone to the third Humanity Talk Inside ASEAN podcast. This podcast initiated by Dompet Duafa and supported by Oxfam Indonesia. This for today podcast, we are going to talk about the greater humanitarian intervention in ASEAN and with CSO. But please let me introduce myself and our guest today. My name is Miranti from Indonesian platform for DRR. And we have two guests today, two beautiful people. and that I know for a long time ago. And first we have Hepi Rahmawati from the GNDR Global Network for the Global Network Civil Society for Disaster Reduction, right? And also we have Vanda Lengkong from Plan International Regional Asia Pasifik. And greeting for all the humanitarian enthusiasts in the Southeast Asia and Regional Asia Pacific. Well, today we will talking about the role of civil society in humanitarian intervention. And as we know that Sunday framework also mentioned the role of civil society as a key actors in humanitarian intervention. And we know that in region in Southeast Asia, as we know that just about the cultural, and also we quite have a lot of issues on humanitarian, including by natural disaster, humanitarian crisis, conflict, and etc. Well, maybe we first go to Mbak Hepi. We would like to hear from you about what is the key challenges of the humanitarians in in ASEAN region. Sorry, please, Mbak Hepi.
Thank you, Mbak Miranti. So, for more than 10 years, GNDR has gathered data through views from the frontline survey to see how the communities perceive risk and also barriers to address those risks and what are the key priorities of actions from the community perspective. And in 2019, we conducted the survey. Globally, we interviewed over than 117,000 people in 50 countries. And in Southeast Asia region, we conducted VFL in 6 countries. We conducted the survey in Indonesia, which is led by Yakum Emergency Unit in Laos, and by GDA in Myanmar and Cambodia by CWS, and in the Philippines by CDP, and in Vietnam by DWF. There are 897 CSO involved, 916 local governments participated, and also there are 3,653 communities that also been interviewed in the survey. And from that survey, the top 5 threats are climate-induced disaster. They are floods, drought, typhoon, storm, landslides, which are affecting their health, life, and also livelihood. And they said that they are facing crop failure, loss of assets, food and water insecurity, and yeah, maybe I think the last like super typhoon Odette was hitting the Philippines, which affected close to 12 million people, and also destroying 2 million houses, leaving tens of thousands of people displaced. And like this kind of climate change disaster there happens like every day. And even like in Indonesia, there are more than 3,000 of how do you call it, climatological disasters that hit Indonesia as well. And from the survey, we found that top three main barriers for resilience building are the first one is communications issues, and then the second one is conflict, and the third is marginalizations and exclusion. So we know that exclusions also exacerbates people vulnerability because they are not aware of the valuable resources and also informations that they can access before, during, and after disaster. And they also mentions that community most at risk are not able to directly access funds to build their own resilience. And where disaster risk reductions budget are allocated to local government, they often lack the professional competencies and resources to effectively distribute and make use of the funds. Yeah, so I think this is also that make the community more vulnerable.
Thank you, Happy. Kakak Vanda, as an humanitarian organization, yeah, regarding to the challenges that Mbak Happy mentioned before, what is the, how the CSOs are coping with that situation?
Okay, thanks, Kakak Mira, and then agree with what Happy already mentioned. I think what intensity of the disaster in the region is become one of the challenges, because sometimes it also create what you call it, people are feel overwhelmed because there's so many, the intensity is happening oftenly, and how people and then the government able to cope and able to deliver a quality of response. So come to your question, Kamira, in regards to, okay, so what can CSO do, or what is the role of CSO in the region? As we know, there is a growing civil society organization in the region, no? Coming not only from NGOs, national NGOs, international NGO. We saw that there is a lot of growing of faith-based organization, as well as like a specific group, women's group, youth group, that really come with shared interests to really engage or contribute into the humanitarian as well as development work. So we always see the connection between the humanitarian and development, because we don't want to work in silo. So from Plan International perspective, because we also as kind of like CSO within ASEAN languages, that we are working for a world that advance the right of children, and especially equality for girls. We do see that there is also a significant role of CSO in addressing the challenges that what Happy is mentioned. There are few. Number one is basically CSO can able to provide a analysis and expertise in the overall disaster management cycle. So CSO can able to contribute from the preparedness stage, response, recovery, which is the rehabilitation and reconstruction, but also towards development. CSO can able to really focus on implementation and bringing impact, especially in bringing the accountability on the thematic sector, and also promoting inclusion, gender equality, really making sure that children, girls and boys, women, people with disability, elderly, that sometimes this has been neglected with the overall implementation in the response, just because it's not become an interest. So it always see like community in general, but people at risk or community at risk need also to be engaged, and they have capacity to engage. The third one, from our perspective in Plan International, CSO can also support, improve performance, strengthening governance, accountability, and learning. So if I can able to make a conclusion, Mbak Miranti, when we talk about the CSO role in addressing the challenges, we could be as an implementer. We could be as a capacity builder, knowledge broker, because we can connect and facilitate the discussion. We can engage in monitoring the overall process and bring the accountability perspective. And last but not least is to advocate, mobilizing funding, standing up for the need and priority of the people at risk. So we can be at the front line to together support the government in addressing the specific need of people at risk. Maybe I stop there first, but
Okay. Thank you, Vanda. Back to you, Happy. Speaking about advocacy and engagement, what is the what is the strategic agenda that CISO need to pursue to ensure that the advocacy and policy engagement and also actor engagement, non-state actors in humanitarian engagement, it can be connect or link each other. And yeah, I also quite interested with what Vanda mentioned before, that we are we are in the humanitarian nexus process applications, which is that we try to ensure that the humanitarian issues not as a standalone issues, but it's also related to the development and also peace issue. And what is the global network actually do right now to address that issues?
Thank you, Mbak Mira. Yeah, I think um, for GNDR, CSO also play a major role in amplifying the voices of the community most at risk, and also to influence policy and practices based on the evidence that we collected. Where Mbak Vanda mentions about as a knowledge broker, we also collect evidence and use that evidence to influence the policy and practice at local, nationals, and also global level. And for GNDR, we as the largest international network of civil society organization working to strengthen resilience and reduce risk in communities, we connect frontline civil society organizations with the national and international policy-making institutions, governments, and also we creating a space for them in this policy advocacy process. And we at GNDR, we are engaged in global policy discussions, such as in the UNDRR Global Platform for DRR and the Sendai Framework for Actions, UNDESA High Level Political Forum and the Sustainable Development Goals, UNFCCC Conferences of Parties or COP, and the Paris Agreement, and also the UN General Assembly 2023 and the midterm review of the Agenda 2030. And as you mentioned, Mbak Mira, at the global level, there is a strong, I think, awareness on the importance of the triple nexus. But at the local levels, it is quite difficult to operationalize that concept. And yeah, so we at GNDRs, we urge all stakeholders to champion localizations, risk-informed development, and also civil society-led collaborations for the meaningful implementations of society approach to disaster risk reductions. We when we say risk-informed development, we ensure that the development also consider risk in their planning and then in their development processes. And of course, this also will addressing the building community resilience, which is expected to reduce disaster losses and also reduce the conflict fragility. Specifically, we at GNDR, we have conducted consultancy process where we deliver this GNDR call to actions for global decision maker to support and champion the 8 messages for the governments and also the key stakeholder in DRR. The first one is to listen to the community. So that is our primary call to ensure that there is institutionalizations, the inclusions of communities and local leaders in the development plan process and decision making. And then the second one is to invest at the local level. Here we want to make sure that risk reductions financing can can be accessed by the local actors. And then the third one is to improve coordinations and coherence. This is also recognizing the systemic nature of risk, and also acknowledging the role of civil society in in building synergies as well. And then the fourth one is to also empower women leaders. We need to recognize gender inequality as the driver of risk, and also empower women leaders at all levels. And then the fifth is to strengthen the DRR governance in conflict-affected states, where we need to support fragile state to implement DRR and policy and plan, because we heard from our members that a conflict is also make the community in a more vulnerable conditions, and within that conflict situations, they also facing disaster as well. And then the sixth call to action is to involve children and youth in disaster risk reductions, because we believe that youth, they are the future of the world, and we need to ensure youth leaders are meaningfully included in the DRR decision making at all levels. And the seventh is to learn from COVID-19 global risk governance weaknesses, and also the social, economical, and political elements of risk reductions highlighted by the pandemic. And the last one, we want to integrate inclusions across all levels by recognizing the intersectional dynamics of marginalizations in relations to risk. So that is our call to actions for the government and also the stakeholder.
Okay, thank you. It's talking about our situation, I mean the CSO situation right now in the ASEAN countries, which is quite different to one and another's country members of Indonesia. Is there any strategic or any challenges or maybe any opportunities that we see to maybe to strengthening the CSO involvement in the area?
Yeah, so in the region, we have many nationally recognized members, and Vanda also mentioned earlier that there are a growing CSO that working in DRR humanitarian as well, and they have like excellent work in humanitarian in DRR. However, I think this expertise is not fully utilized yet at ASEAN level in the regions. They're working actively at the local and national level, but at the regional level, I think there are opportunity for optimizing their potentials. And yeah, in the past there was ADMER partnership group as the formal engagement of ASEAN. Which is great because the APG, the ADMER Partnership Group, can bring CSO to be engaged in the ASEAN framework for disaster management, disaster response, and disaster management. So I think it will be very good if the legacy of the APG can be sustained, and also with wider engagement of the CSO, especially those local and national actors. For example, mobilization of CSO in ASEAN Emergency Rapid Assessment Team. So in the past, it is only governments that are deployed, but then there is engagement of the CSO that are trained in ERAT and also being deployed for the regional response. So if this can be sustained and more CSO can join the ERAT, I think that would be great. And then there is also ASEAN Disaster Emergency Response Simulations Exercise, or ARDEX, And this, if more CSO can participate, I think this also will be great. And there is also mobilization of CSO that can be expanded in ensuring effective communications and outreach of early warning and early action. So I think that is also one of the a growing concern as well, to ensure early warning are accessible, and which allow people to do the anticipatory actions. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I pick up the last sentence of Hepi on the anticipatory action, because also that's something that some of the APG and the ATMER partnership group are still basically exist, and yeah, we are basically open to really see to what extent that expansion of the membership, because we know looking into the localization agenda quite strongly in the region, then it's supposed to really open up to more wider membership. And then really bringing the voice of the national CSO in the region. And so one thing that also maybe linking with the advocacy question, Mbak Miranti, so anticipatory action is one of the a growing a theme, which is built from the early action, bringing from the early warning action that been done at the disaster risk reduction. So it's not been seen as kind of like new. It's not new. It's basically to strengthen what we already exist. And so there is no kind of like people are become very surprised. What is it? Why come a new team? No, it's basically to strengthen and to enhance what we already do, and try to bring in a different multi stakeholder, especially from the financial agency, as well as really put forward the people who come from the early warning system provider, like the geophysics and meteorologic agency. And ASEAN, I think last year, alongside with the GPDRR, the global platform for DRR, is launching the ASEAN framework on anticipatory action, which is bringing these three building blocks, no? Risk information, forecasting, and early warning system, planning, operation, and delivery, and then pre-arranged finance. And so what happened now, there are a number of APG member, Plan International, CARE, and World Vision. We basically implement a small piloting project in Vietnam, and also have regional activity to really see to what extent that anticipatory action can be implemented, and having a buy-in from the government, especially from the member state. There are a number of training manual, training materials, as well as thematic study on how to see the opportunity of the policy and existing effort in ASEAN member state that can able as an entry point to strengthen the anticipatory action work. So from our side, it could be as an opportunity as well, because there is already like ASEAN framework. So a member state can able to really do implement it, and from CSO side is to support with the knowledge product that can be accessed by the member state. And I agree what Hepi mentioned. I think to making sure that there are more CSO representative into the ASEAN mechanism, into the ERAT, because I think it's already there. And I believe AHA Center is open up and then try their best to also engage more. Red Cross now is part of it, ARDEX, and also now they have this certification of the humanitarian practitioner specialist in ASEAN, what called ASEAN, which is also CSO might have opportunity to access and being certified as a humanitarian expertise within the region. And so when they've been deployed to a number of ASEAN member states, they can able to have that certification. That's basically ongoing a process. So I think there is a lot of opportunity, Mbak Mira and Hepi. However, for me, it's more on open up from both sides to really fostering collaboration and not competition. Because one of the fact, sometimes we think that we compete to each other, and which organization that been acknowledged or not acknowledged. We should not do that, because we as CSO in the region, we're supposed to support ASEAN, we're supposed to support the member state where we are located. We need to fostering a collaboration. And I think there are a number of regional event, regional network, IDRRN, ASEAN Network for Disaster Reduction, IHWA, for example, that try also to be as a platform, no, for having this debate, this conversation, this communication, but should be with the respect as well as be inclusive enough to bringing all people or all relevant colleagues, the right organization, which is acknowledged by the government because we are working with ASEAN. So we have to acknowledge how ASEAN work and not only looking into how CSO work. So then we can able to be in the same table for the conversation. I'll stop there.
Okay, thank you, Vanda. Well, it's very interesting with the with all the agenda, with all the new strategy that we are developed in the region. But I would like to elaborate from both of you. But since we are now living in the technology era, and how it's I mean, how the impact on how the use of technology to ensure first how to strengthen the CSO involvement, and also how to scale up the number of CSO involvement in the region and humanitarian issues. Awesome. Happy Vanda first, maybe.
Okay, thank you. It's very interesting, and I mean, we are living in the 2023, right? Now there is a discussion on AA. We can ask question, we can get the answer on everything, which is fascinating. So digital and technology. So I think back again to what I mentioned in the beginning, one of the key role of CSO is basically engine innovation, because that's what we do. We have the flexibility to really create and being innovative, which is maybe a little bit different from what the government, no, with all their structure, bureaucracy, and etc. So we have that flexibility, we have that opportunity. So in practice, I'm aware that there is already a lot of innovation, how CSO is using digital or technology in humanitarian work as well as in the disaster reduction. In humanitarian, for example, like plan, we are now doing our rapid need assessment whenever there is a disaster using Kobo. Or also using other platform, no, to generate data. We also using QRIS for collecting feedback mechanism, or monitoring the implementation is using bringing the tablet and go to the community, ask question and etc. And also friendly to environment, no, we don't use paper. Also, I remember that I heard this, and Hepi might also aware about this. This young youth network in Indonesia, they have this drone to support for the assessment and then pinpoint the location, especially in the remote area. I cannot really recall the exact name, but they've been presented in GPDRR as well, and they promoted it into the ASEAN. In the region. There are also a lot of innovation in regards to youth network, youth reporter project. Plan International have this, where youth come to the affected area and then become as a journalist, but not only to report what happened, but also really to bring the voice, as what Hepi continue mentioned, the voice of the people at risk, and so it can be seen by the outside what's going on and what they can able to do. Children, girls and boys, youth, women, even people with disability and elderly, they can be active, engaged in the response. So I think there is a lot of a growing technology, and then also, like, you know, when we promote cash voucher assistant, they are always like how to use the mobile phone in payment, those kind of things. But I think one thing that we need to remember, making sure that it is inclusive, that can be accessed by everybody. Secondly, is also need to consider about safeguarding, because it is basically using digital, the confidentiality, and then also the PSEA, the prevention of sexual abuse and exploitation to the affected people. We really need to think about this when we are promoting or when we are thinking about innovation. But in fact, there's already a lot of concrete example, Mbak Mira, about this. Happy, am I able to add? Thank you very much.
Yeah, Happy. We specifically about how to shrinking the gap between organization, maybe in your network, especially with from different country, from different situation, from different accessibility on technology, and how the network itself try to filling the gap.
Well, actually, for GNDR members, when we say innovation, it does not always come together with high technology.
No.
Especially our members are very diverse, and this digital divide is still exists in this world. And so for community and also our members that works with the local community, for them, innovation is how the community can find local solutions to their local problems. And also for us, for the CSO, process innovation is also more important than the product innovations itself, meaning that we would like to see that the innovation practice is scalable, sustainable, and replicable. Because if the innovations is expensive, and then it might and not familiar for the community, there might be also they will struggle to sustain the technology as well. So for example, in community where we work with in Wajur, Indonesia, to address the crop failure, they are using the biochar to improve the fertility and to boost the harvest. And in another community in Krok Trap in Cambodia, they restore their canal, not only to prevent floodings, but also to store the water for the drought seasons. And another example, community in Pontong in Laos, they installed loudspeaker to ensure that the community can have the access to early warning. So it's very simple. It's not always high tech, but sometimes last mile activity is also needed. And another example is with our localizing climate projections. We have developed a guide on how to make the climate projections that currently global, technical, and maybe difficult to understand by the local community can be more accessible and understandable, not by making the community as an expert in climate projection, but we try to facilitate the discussions between the climate expert with the meteorological agency to sit together with the community and sit together to understand what is the climate and weather related information means for them. Does it means it's gonna make for example, it will threats their crops, for example. Does it means that they cannot go to fish to go to the sea for fishing, for example? So make this kind of information accessible, and what are the relevant messages for them, because for the community, when we say about risk reduction, is not only to save their life, but also their livelihood as well. Yeah. Thank you, Mbak Mira.
Yeah, in the future, when we're talking about what is the future of humanitarian action, and both of you agreed that we need to strengthen our local capacity. Is there so back to back with the opportunity for the local organization, for the local CSO to voicing their own voice in the region? What is the challenges to provide that medium for the local capacities? Well, since we are both of you working in the regions, but also there is since the we are living in a global village when technology also provides us to communicate each other from every level in the regions. What is the challenges? What is the opportunity for the local CSO to voicing their own voice in the region? Is that possible, or maybe there is a lot of effort that we need to provide?
I think there's a possibility is there. I think just how to find the right channel and right network. So I think for all the national or local CSO, I mean, working alone, it will not bring us anywhere. So really know what are the existing network and try to really fostering collaboration. So what is the expertise of the CSO, and then they need to connect each other. And also don't forget that it also really linking with what the government is also, so to adhere as well with it. Secondly, I think making sure that whenever that the local CSO or national CSO do is also try to connect with the discussion at the international level or global level. At least perhaps one of very simple, making sure that it is adhere to humanitarian standard or be familiar with it. No, there is sphere core humanitarian standard, because once that been used, I think it could also easy access. The third one, I think, be agile and then also be using the technology, internet. A lot of information is basically there. But then also we need to know where to find the right information, a right channel, because there is a opportunity on online training, opportunity to join a network, for example, Sphere, become a champion, or INEE, a community of practice. There is a lot. So when it is being try to engage in that, and then also knowing the existing network within that specific country, access of flow of information will be there. Maybe like in Indonesia, MPBI, and MPBI can be basically access to regional event or global network. That could be as one of the platform, no? Humanitarian Forum Indonesia, for example, or ACT, ACT Alliance, for example. There is basically a lot of, but then again, we need to help the CSO and the national CSO to really know where, and then find the right network to engage. Yeah, happy.
Yeah, happy. You still mute, Happy.
Thank you, Mbak Vanda. Yeah, one of GNDR strategy, our first goal is to strengthen the solidarity and also collaborations and mobilization of civil society organizations. So it is really important that we are not competing with each other, and try to understand what are our added values and start to collaborate. And we GNDR at the regional level, we are engaged in the NGO or CSO stakeholder group of UNDRR Asia Pacific Partnership for Disaster Risk Reductions, or APPDRR, together with the ADRRN, the Asia Disaster Reductions and Response Network. And jointly with ADRRN, we will, with ADRRN and also other network in the regions, we conduct CSO consultations that bring local, nationals, and international CSO for consultations, for example, on SFDRR midterm review, or on CSO statement for Asia Pacific Ministerial Conference on Disaster Risk Reductions, or on the SFDRR Asia Pacific Work Plan, for example. So, and of course, we have high participations from the national CSO, but there are also challenges on language, because not all, especially for local CSO, they don't speak English, so that they will not be able to participate in this regional consultation. So I think this is where the role of the national network can facilitate, because we between ADRR and GNDR, we also have a common member. So some of the GNDR members are also ADRR members in the country. They are also quite active. For example, Humanitarian Forum Indonesia, Yakum, is also a member, and they are also member of DRR National Platform. The same as in the Philippines, we have the CDP, and then CDP is also a member of the DRR Net Philippines, and so they will be able also to works with their DRR National Platform or other networks in the country to conduct the local consultations on this regional issue that being discussed. In that way, we expect that the local voices can be amplified at the regional level. And internally at GNDR, we also have the regional advisory group, and then the national focal persons, and the national focal person will consult our members in the country to collect their input as well. Another form of consultation also be disseminated like through survey, and then they will facilitate the translation of the survey, something like that. So to be honest, it is a lot of work to really, facilitating work is not easy. It's not easy. It take a lot of time and energy, and I'm sure Mbak Miranti, you did a lot of this kind of stuff as well. So I think, yeah, we need to continue to do this. Yeah, never bored to do this, because it is, I think it's worth it, yeah, to have these local voices amplified at the regional and global level.
Okay, thank you, Hepi. I have last question for both of you. Regarding the Indonesian chairmanships in ASEAN. So what is what we can do as CSO to, maybe there is any opportunity or new opportunity, or there is maybe we need to develop what kind of call for action or something that since we are in Indonesia, but the three of us is from Indonesia, but we are working also in region. But what can we do with the opportunity since the Indonesian as the chairmanship of the ASEAN?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's a really great opportunity, and I think there are some initiative and effort that been discussed in the last regional humanitarian network partnership week, with also the pioneer from a number of colleagues senior from Indonesia. I think one of the opportunities is really to bring together CSO, but with also a clear messages what we want. If you would like to claim a space, a CSO meaningful engagement in ASEAN work, what does it mean? And then also building from what already exists, like what APG, the Admiral Partnership Group, but what else? Bringing also the add value from the CSO. Perhaps from my point of view, really bringing there is a lot of growing of faith-based organization when they can able to generate funding for humanitarian response, which is, I mean, some of them is able even to support a country beyond the region. Is it something that can be institutionalized or can be, jointly joint forces in the region? But then it needs to be a collective action. So I think there are still certain step and stages to really bring together, and then to making sure CSO who would like to play in this area have a same common understanding, and also a very clear purpose and what they would like to bring forward to ASEAN. Apology. And also understand also the structure, how ASEAN work, because it's a little bit different from the other network as well. So they need to be to be clear. Secondly, I think really to bring the evidence, because that's what CSO do, no? As what we discussed since the beginning, bringing how the engagement of the people at risk, community at risk, in number of, including to the disaster management cycle, and presented it. So ASEAN might be very open at, okay, if CSOs claim the space, this is what they add value that they can bring to the table. Yeah, happy.
Thank you. Happy.
Yeah, I think it's exciting to know that Indonesia now is chairing ASEAN, and we know that Indonesia has been having a good relationship with the CSO. So hopefully that Indonesian government will also accept and strengthen the role of CSO in convening the all society approach where we can also be utilized in achieving the ASEAN framework as well. And I agree with what Vanda said, that CSO can collect evidence from the field. Because that is one of our capacity to collect and disseminate to a knowledge exchange. So hopefully that there will be a stronger engagement of the CSO. And of course, the Indonesian government can also consult of some of the CSO how, especially because the ADMER partnership group like Mbak Vanda and other organizations that are involved in the APG, they are also Indonesians, so they can also provide advice. The CSO can provide advice to the Indonesian government on how to use this as a momentum to bring wider CSO engagement at ASEAN level. And hopefully the government will also support civil society organizations to work with the governments, and it both at the national and regional level. So it's not only in Indonesia but in the region.
Okay, thank you, Happy. Thank you, both of you. Since we have limited times to the podcast, there's a lot of things that we need to ensure to work in the field to make sure that all the local capacity can be growing, and also the more wider local organization that can involve in the region. I will not conclude that our discussion, but I will capture key points that we are talking at the moment. Since talking about the role of the civil society on humanitarian intervention, the civil society already have a lot of platform or medium on networking in the region, and not within the country, but also within the regions. And also they are working with standards and creating innovation, make sure to strengthen the local capacity, and ensuring, emphasizing as well the policy advocacy, and creating space for make sure that local voice can be represented in the region. And it's also engagement with the not just in the countries as the on the governments in the country, but also in engaging in the regional forum that strategically to ensure that that the humanitarian action can run smoothly, effective, and ensure that that the communities can be more resilient, hopefully. And thank you, both of you. It's very quite enlightenment discussion, since we have a long time though. No time to discuss of these issues. We know that CSO is quite important as a key actors in the humanitarian, but sometimes we forget to reflect how we action, how the impact of the action, how the effective of our works. And hope this podcast and can be trigger for next discussion for more details on what the role of CSO. Thank you again. Hope both of you stay healthy and have a good day.